Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's reading as part of the Bealtaine at Home book club. This is the fourth reading, which is extraordinary because it now means that we're halfway through the month of Bealtaine with the festival and the book club. So Bealtaine at Home is curated by Mia Gallagher. Her two main book choices for this month were The Jewel by Neil Hegarty and my own The Years That Followed. And don't forget that Mia's interview with Neil Hegarty will take place tomorrow evening on Facebook at 6:30. So the short extracts that I've chosen for this evening begin with one of the main characters, Callista, and it's the day after her wedding. A wedding that was rather hurriedly arranged, given that she is in an interesting condition. And the reason I've chosen this and the subsequent extract about Pilar is because each of the extracts deal with the power of the memories that we have from childhood, from those years which essentially form us. So on this very extraordinary day when Callista is leaving home at the very tender age of 17, back in 1966, she harkens back to that time and to what it means to leave everybody that she loves behind her. So the only names really that you need to know at this stage are for Callista herself, her mother, Maria Luisa, and Philip, who's her twin. Excuse me. Callista is a wife. The word still feels unfamiliar, formal, a bit like her unaccustomed suit and hat, as though it doesn't fit her comfortably yet. She has tested it many times, but its strangeness still vibrates on her tongue. It is such a full word, a language all of its own. It speaks of so many possibilities. A whole new world flows from its four slender letters, a whole new weight of responsibility. Yesterday, old Father Callery performed the rite of marriage, unaware of the extent of Callista's sin. She had gone to confession on the other side of the city at her mother's urging. Father Callery knows you all your life, Maria Luisa said. Her voice, her eyes were cold as she'd pulled off her gloves finger by unforgiving finger. There is no need for you to disappoint him also. Callista felt Maria Luisa's eyes burn into her back during the ceremony as Father Callery looked at her kindly and said, "Who can find a virtuous woman?" He paused then, turning his gaze on Alexandros. "Her price is far above rubies." He leaned forward and spoke softly, so softly that only Callista and Alexandros could hear. "Take care of each other," he said. "Alexandros, be good to your wife and love her. She is indeed a virtuous woman." Alexandros smiled his brilliant smile. "I will," he said. "I will." Husband, wife. Standing in the airport now, surrounded by all those she loves, Callista can barely remember her life before Alexandros strode into it in April, 3 tumultuous months ago. "That's us," he says now. Callista hasn't heard the announcement, but her new husband begins to move forward with confidence. He makes to kiss Maria Luisa's hand, but Callista sees her mother pull back a little, and Alexandros' lips reach the tips of her gloved fingers instead. He pauses for a moment, then moves smoothly on and shakes hands with Timothy, Callista's father. She cannot read her father's expression, and his careful, deliberate distance from her now makes her eyes fill. She knows too by the set of her new husband's shoulders that he is offended. Maria Luisa's rebuff has made him angry. Callista glances in his direction, hoping that he will not retreat into sullenness on the long flight to Cyprus. Philip approaches and Callista lets go of Alexandros' hand and puts both arms around her brother. "It's not the end of the world," she whispers, "and Cyprus isn't the ends of the earth. You'll come and see us." Her twin hugs her hard. "Of course, He says, of course I will. Callista doesn't let go. The strength of Philip's embrace brings a memory rushing to the surface, something she hasn't thought about in years. Come on, Callie, Philip is saying, you can do it. He waits patiently at the bottom of the slope, the only proper hill in the whole neighbourhood. Its smooth paved surface leads all the way up to the local shop, and Mr. Murray, the shopkeeper, turns a blind eye to the dozens of children who practice their skating skills just outside his door. Philip and Callista are 9, and Callista's trying out her new roller skates. She hasn't yet managed to develop the knack of marrying speed with balance. Philip has already mastered the art, even though skates are not meant for boys. All morning he's ignored the jeers and taunts of the neighbourhood kids. Callista sometimes wonders if he even hears them. Just watch me one more time, he's saying. Lean forward a bit when you're going up. And do everything fast. Don't think about it. Philip speeds once again up the slope. He pauses at the top, then races back down with a fearless, elegant grace. When he reaches Callista, he turns swiftly and comes to a halt beside her on the footpath. Lady Philip, the onlooking boys call out, their words puzzling to Callista. Philip doesn't even glance in their direction. All he says is, the left skate is a bit loose. We need to tighten it for you. Give me the key. Callista watches as her brother straps the metal skates onto her feet, helping her to stand, to find a wobbly kind of balance. Okay, Philip says, still holding on to both her hands. All you've got to do now is move fast. If you slow down, it won't work. He grins at her. You can do it. I know you can. Callista nods, unsure, but her twin's belief in her gives her hope. Philip always gives her hope. I'll stand here at the end of the slope, he says. Don't worry, I'll catch you if anything goes wrong. I won't let you fall. Philip pulls her to the top of the hill, making sure that Callista stands safely on the flat part, just outside the shop door. Then he runs to the bottom of the slope, both his arms open wide. Okay, Callie, he says, now. And suddenly, Callista is flying. Somewhere between the top of the hill and her twin's open arms, she finds her balance. As she speeds towards him, laughing out loud, all Callista can see is the grin that spreads across Philip's face. She can hear his whoop of glee as she approaches. Then she turns quickly, gracefully at last, and for the first time, doesn't crash to a halt. Philip hugs her in delight. You did it! You did it! I knew you could do it. He holds on tight for a moment and then pulls his willing sister to the top of the hill once again. One more time, he says, and then you won't need me. And once more, he held her. Philip held her then, just as he holds her now, today, and Callista suddenly doesn't want to let go. Come, Callista, it's time we were boarding. Alexandros reaches for her hand again, holds it a little too firmly. He begins to walk towards the departure gate. Callista has to hurry to keep up with them. She turns and looks back at where her family is standing. Maria Luisa has already turned away. Her father half waves and then immediately follows his wife. Only Philip remains, his right hand raised in farewell. Her twin's face is no longer itself, but just a memory. Okay, and around the same time in the chronology of the story, we have Pilar, who has a memory of the time she was 7, slightly different from the one Callista has just had. On the day before Pilar's first communion, Mama's face had looked just like that, a bruise, the size and shape of a perfect rose around her eye. The house that morning was silent, a brittle, explosive silence that made even Pilar's brothers quieten. After breakfast, Abuela Lolo appeared suddenly at the door, slamming it back against the wall as she made her entrance. That was odd. Grandma Lolo never called that early, and she never made an entrance like that. Pilar remembers how Mama stretched out one hand as though she wanted to halt her mother's advance. 7-year-old Pilar was puzzled. Lolo was always welcome in their house. Mama said so many times as though expecting someone to defy her. Papa stood up from his breakfast, taking a long time to come to his feet. And still nobody said anything. As Pilar watched, she became astonishingly aware that Grandma Lolo was carrying something that looked like a long, shiny stick. It took her a moment to realize that it was her grandfather Edelmiro's shotgun, the one he always kept wrapped in an oiled blanket, safe in the locked cupboard in the barn. But now it was in Grandma Lolo's hands, and she raised it to her right shoulder, squinting as though the light suddenly bothered her eyes. "You lay one hand again on my daughter," she said, "and I will blow your brains out." And then she fired. The shot whizzed and zinged well above Papa's head, but still he ducked. The pellet lodged with a dull thunk in the brick wall behind the kitchen table. Pilar's ears started to sing, and she did not hear what else was said or shouted among the grown-ups. All she knew was from that day on, Papa took his rages out on things and not people. He destroyed books, broke shelves, threw plates and saucepans. But as far as Pilar knew, he never touched Mama again. Some men use their fists as a weapon, Mama used to say, but other men use love. And on that happy note, we will leave it for tonight. So I hope that you will tune in to Mia's interview with Neil Hegarty tomorrow evening at 6:30. And we'll meet here again next Tuesday at 7:30. And if you have any requests, any particular extract you'd like to have read, please email me through my website. Thank you all very much. Be well, keep safe, and it looks as though we might be getting a little further than our front doors in the few days to come. All the best, and bye for now.